Okay, hey guys, welcome to today's webinar, 11 mistakes and how to avoid them in your PT business. My name is Anna-Lee Matthews and I am your moderator for today. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the questions box in your GoToWebinar panel and they'll be answered by our presenters at the end of the session. Also, throughout the presentation, we will activate a couple of polls, so look out for them. It's in the polls section of the GoToWebinar panel. I'll actually launch one right now just so you can see what we're talking about. You simply need to answer that on your screen, and then at the end we can go through the results accordingly. On behalf of the Personal Trainers Council of New Zealand, let me officially introduce you to today's presenters. We have Di Lauder, who's based in Queenstown, and Hilary Blackstock, who's based in New Plymouth. Before I hand over to Di and Hilary, let me tell you a little bit about them. Di is a personal trainer, a run coach, a NutriFit consultant, and occupational therapist as well. She's worked as a PT for 6 years, predominantly out of her private home studio, but she also runs outdoor group sessions in parks. Di also has 15 years experience as an occupational therapist, specialising in mentoring allied health workers, team leading and providing programs for stress management and effective communication. In 2008, Di was named Catch Fitness Best New PT, and in 2010 was named Best Female PT. Hilary Blackstock has majored in exercise prescription and management while studying for her degree at Otago University. She then went on to do a 5-year stint as a fitness instructor at what's now called Todd Energy Aquatic Centre in New Plymouth. She also worked for the Heart Foundation for 2 years before setting up her own personal training business called Body Evolution, and that was now 4 years ago. Hilary runs her business out of a small studio in New Plymouth and also has 2 young toddlers, making her a very busy woman. So without further ado, let's kick off today's webinar, 11 mistakes and how to avoid them in your PT business. Over to you, Hilary and Di.
Hi, it's Di here. Welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your day to invest in your education and your business as a personal trainer. I'm going to be talking on the first point, which is being a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. And that point is very much looking at, it's kind of normal when you commence your PT business to take on most, if not all, of the paying clients that come to work with you. And with it will come a lot of goals and training styles needed. And as a PT, you can start spreading yourself quite thin because you're obviously wanting to focus on earning the money right and getting your professional reputation up. But over time, it's really important as a personal trainer to have a point of difference, to be a specialist in an area of personal training. And it's really important to focus on gaining that expertise and investing your money and your time to get that professional reputation and have areas, even 1 or 2, that are areas of expertise. So you are the go-to person when it comes to that specialty area. Other trainers can refer to you. Decide yourself on what area you want to specialise in. Choose something that you're really passionate about. Research it up, really upskill, invest money and time in making yourself an expert. Then focus on marketing yourself in ways that really work for that customer base. For example, you might decide that you want to be a trainer of new mums. So you want to advertise in places that you will have these new mums, like parenting centres, parenting magazines, Plunket clinics, and maybe offer things like 10-session packages where the mums and bubs can come to your groups twice a week. You'll focus on core and pelvic floor stability, stretching and strengthening lower backs, adding hot nutrition tips, boosting energy levels for feeding mums on the go, and maybe even look at getting experts in to talk about parenting. So what I would like you to think about is doing that. And myself, I know that I will refer on to other experts and have referred on to a trainer who specialises in body sculpting competitions. So what do you think about that, Hilary?
I agree. I think, working in an area that you're passionate about makes it a lot easier. It doesn't feel, like quite as challenging to go to work, and if you can network with other trainers, and you get the best of both worlds, because you can work with the people that you really enjoy working with and you've got that expertise in, but you also don't kind of have to struggle through the people that you find more difficult, because you can refer those off to other trainers in your area that might have that area of expertise and passion that you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the next point is trying to do it all in our business. Now that can be a common mistake. Let's face it, being a personal trainer, you're typically going to be a small business owner. And that means that it's common for you, particularly at the beginning, to work some big hours. And we're talking 10 plus hours a day, even up to 6 days a week. And it can get a bit out of control. And as a business owner, your time is not just spent doing that direct training client service, but also is spent on finances, administration, marketing, advertising, strategic planning, customer services, ongoing education, networking, supervision, and even down to the laundry and cleaning. So covering all these roles can be a bit of a juggling act, and it's not realistic long term to sustain that. So it's really important as a PT, you focus on your core business, your direct client training services, and importantly, it also means you're going to be generating a good income. So the next step would be work out what aspects of your business are not dependent on you, or what tasks cause you unneeded stress. For me, it's definitely doing the budget, the finances. Then hire yourself an expert to do what you really struggle with or you don't want to do. And for me, I've employed an accountant. You might even look at getting a cleaner or a business mentor, even a website designer. This means you can really concentrate on doing what you do well, which is earning money and generating a great business with clients. And also within that, budget in those expenses required to pay those experts and those services. So it's really important you do that. Hills, have you had to pay anybody to help you with some tasks that you really didn't want to do in your business?
I have. I was a right sucker for this one. I think when I started, I saw my first client at 5 in the morning, and I saw my last client at 8 o'clock at night. And it didn't take me very long to realise that, I wasn't going to survive. So the two people I found most beneficial for me, because I hate finances and numbers, was an accountant and a business mentor. Because the business mentor sat me down and said, "How are you feeling?" And I went, "Oh, I can't really do what I'm meant to be doing." And so that they just made me really focus down on what I wanted out of my business, why I left what I was doing to be in business, and how to fix it. So that'd probably be the two that were most beneficial for me.
Oh.
I think the other thing I started off doing was having every single client that called me, I would, squeeze them into my day. And I ended up, you realise in life that some people you get on really well with and you gel with, and it's a really positive experience. And other people are energy zappers, or, you just kind of don't get on as well with them, or they want to be mountain bikers, and that's not where my area of expertise and passion lies. So I think it's something that you learn, or we try and avoid everyone doing, is you don't need to take on everyone that calls you. It's really tempting when you're starting out, because you can kind of just see that, the dollar signs and having more clients. But over time, I think you're better off, like we said earlier, to find an area that you're passionate about, so that you enjoy your work a little bit more, you can be professional, and you can give it that much more of your all. I've been in business about 6 months, I think, and, was ticking over okay. And I went to my Toastmasters meeting, and I met this woman who just moved to town, and she was an experienced trainer from Auckland and had been in the business for 20 years, and she'd set up 2 blocks away from me. Well, I left that meeting so devastated and thinking that the world was falling in. And the next week I stood up and I said, told her what I did, and we got together, and it was really awesome. She was a really good mentor, but she also had expertise in areas that I didn't, and we just worked together and we switched a few clients, and just that alone made such a difference to my business. Have you had an instance like that, Di?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what I've learnt over time, and I have made some mistakes and taken on people who just were, personality-wise, we were just not a good combination. And I've learnt to pre-screen my clients and interview them and refer them quickly if they're not right for, well, I'm not right for them in my business and they're not right for me to work with. And often it is because they have different needs from what you're offering, different goals, like you're saying with mountain biking. So yeah, that's probably important. Hilary,
Sorry.
Yeah, that's important. Anyway.
Yeah, I think pre-screening is a really good idea, or interviewing your clients, because then you can kind of develop that relationship, and find out what their goals are. And I know, personally, I find I've sort of let a few go that were aggressive or non-paying, and non-paying probably leads us on to mistake number 4 that we quite often make as trainers is underpricing ourselves. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. For me, it was a case of, wow, I'd been working as an instructor and getting a set hourly rate. And I thought, wow, if I can get someone to pay me that, well, that's really good. But I didn't stop and think that, hey, now I'm out on my own, I need to cover my ACC and I need to cover my insurance and I need to cover my rent and my uniform and my laundry and, all those extra things that I didn't have to cover when I was working for someone else. And I think, ask around and see what other trainers in your area are charging and work out if you were to pay all those things and, hire yourself an accountant and cleaner and things like that, work that into your hourly rate. And then as time goes on and you feel more comfortable, you can increase your rate to suit. What about you, Di? Have you had to increase your prices?
Yeah, and I had a similar experience to you that you've described. It's almost the same, and I have learnt to look at a price structure that maybe, certainly your first few years, you can put up your rate $5 every year was the kind of guideline I used, and you pre-warn your clients, they're really comfortable with it. So I recommend that, and if they want to buy 10 sessions before the end of the year because it goes up the next year, they can, it's all good. Yeah, so that's really important. And with it, it's like the idea of the next slide is like, for us, we can be quite intimidated by the whole finances, but looking at how we intimidate our clients. And as a trainer, I want you for a moment to picture yourself being in your client's shoes, and particularly if you're a new client, being able to see what it's like to look at the trainer. So if you are a new client, you're typically maybe somebody who's out of condition, you aren't happy with your body composition, you've got some weight to lose, you want to feel fitter and stronger, you just can't fit exercise into your week, eating's all off, and then you meet the picture of health, and rocks the personal trainer who looks the picture of health and vitality, maybe the complete opposite of what you're feeling like. And so they appear to kind of have it all together. And we can be an intimidating bunch, not just in the way we present, but also with some of the things we do. And one of the things we like to do initially is looking at measures and baselines. So we do fitness tests, we use fat calipers, girth measures, scales, maybe before you've even established a relationship with your client. It's really important to get to know what their needs are. And just be careful of your language, that you're not using intimidating words. The word tests and assessments can be conjuring up images of school exams or uni exams, and can be quite likely to cause anxiety. So just get to know your client, the new client's personality type, and work out what kind of will engage them and motivate them. So that they do feel comfortable, and then you can explain the importance of baseline measures if they're of need. Hills, what would you like to add with this one?
I work a lot with medical clients, and I think for some of them, I've actually had a few clients where I've actually done no baseline measures at all. I haven't even weighed them.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, some of them were having regular medical checks for blood pressure or blood glucose and things like that. And so they had those measures as their goals. That was what they'd come to me for. And the other one I use quite a lot is just, you know, being aware and noticing how your clothes fit and how they feel. So yeah, I managed to escape, you know, a few people. But initially I was quite happy to, you know, rock out the calipers on day one and use the word test and assessment. So if you've got any words that you use regularly that are better than test or assessment, can you type them in and let us know? Because it's always handy.
Great.
I think, you know, as well as being intimidating with the way we dress, sometimes we can also, you know, present poorly, and it's not always, I think, because we're seen in an active role. Sometimes, you know, to be comfortable in that active role, we are in, you know, track pants or shorts and sneakers. And so it's being aware of, you know, just making sure that they're clean and tidy, and that they also reflect your target market. So if you're walking into a business and you're working with corporates, maybe you don't need to go, you know, maybe you put on a polo shirt with a collar or something like that, so that you're also kind of matching the client that you're working with. And I think also with presentation, the other thing that we forget about, and I don't know whether it's, for me it's because I'm not, you know, a huge fan of sitting in front of the computer and doing the writing stuff, but being aware that your paperwork is also visible to the client, especially if you're writing reports or webinars, or, you know, even just your website if you've got one, or your Facebook page, being aware of what's actually going through that the public can see, and again, keeping it clean and targeting it to your target market.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, Hilary, I was aware, the paperwork side of things, I'm not the most IT savvy person in the world, so I ended up investing on a graphic artist so that I had really nice professional looking templates, and I'm still using them. I invested in them the first 6 months in my business, and I really recommend, you know, people doing that. So yeah, the next important point we're looking at is it's kind of the way life is. Clients build a relationship with you, and they want you to give them an opinion on their personal relationships. And some of you may relate to this, you know, I'm sure many of you will, where you've been asked something that's quite personal, and we hear it at hairdressers, you know, hairdressers hear some real personal stuff. And when we're training clients, they will share all sorts of information and problems with you. Commenting with your own opinion on a situation may feel safe because you've got a good rapport with the client, but you don't actually know who they're going to talk to after about what you've said. And, you know, they might feel that it's really important that you validate their opinions and thoughts. But often, you know, Chinese whispers, somebody talks to a third person and then a fourth person, and things get a bit out of whack. So what we'd like you to think about, in all honesty, is maybe there's another way to help clients resolve issues without us actually commenting or giving an opinion. And, you know, it's just good communication. It's just asking the right questions in a way that you're avoiding giving the answer, but, you know, just asking open-ended questions so the client is empowered to resolve their own answer is really important. So you might do something like, what do you plan to do about this situation, or what do you feel comfortable doing? Those sort of questions. So you're asking them to come up with a solution and resolve it. And it's really important from 2 points of views. The client feels empowered and they've got their own answer. But importantly for you as a personal trainer, you're maintaining your professional reputation. Is there anything you want to add to that, Hills?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you give your clients, you empower them to make that decision. You also get the buy-in from them, so they're more likely to take action. And the other thing, it just boils down to confidentiality. You know, it's amazing how many times you can be even stuck in a queue in the supermarket and hear people talking, and without hearing names, you can still kind of associate or work out who they're talking about. It's a hard one, though. I love the next one. Assuming your client has listened every other time you tell them to engage their core or other exercises. I know I'm guilty of this one. I'm guilty of all of them, actually. If you, you know, when you first see a client, you're all enthusiastic, and for me, when I'm teaching, you know, you teach them a squat, you want to give them all the tips under the sun, but it's kind of trying to pull back and just give them the basics to grasp. And then the next time when they've got that, just giving them a little bit more and a little bit more. But always remember that, you know, clients have got their own things going on in life, and it would be great if they came to us with 100% focus, but they don't always. And so always giving them a simple cue for each exercise is really important, because often they either haven't listened to you before or they're not in the here and now, you know, they're not remembering. So it's kind of giving them a little bit of a, you know, a little cue to hold on to try and keep them safe. And the biggest challenge I think with this is that we kind of feel like a bit of an air hostess, you know, would you like a cup of tea? Would you like a cup of tea? So it's finding different cues and different ways to cue people. Have you got any great tips for that, Di, on different ways of cueing people?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is sometimes we don't actually have to do verbal cues. So sometimes you can just tap somebody on the shoulder if their shoulder position's bad, and just encourage them to look in the mirror, or point at yourself doing a good example of that exercise, like a good squat, where you might be demonstrating that they're not pushing their hips back enough. So you might show them with yourself without actually necessarily talking. So I think, you know, don't always have to over verbal cue. And a couple of tips is enough, really. Keep it safe, like you said, and yeah, and it will help them on the days that they aren't focused as much, you know, copy. And it's like those days where you're not feeling 100%, and that happens to us. It's sort of like our ninth point, really, not being able to give 100% to every client. Despite the fact that us PTs can be experts at motivating people, we're all enthusiastic people, and we like giving a superb PT service. You know, I've had this happen when I got busy. Sometimes you just get frazzled, and it's really hard to give 100%. And it's usually when you're getting really busy and you've got person after
Ooh, Di. Hillary.
Yes, I'm here.
Ooh,
Do you
Di.
want me to keep going?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, we've just lost
Okay.
Di, that's all. She's just dropped off.
Okay. So I think what Di was sort of saying is that as we get really busy, you know, you can have lots of things going on, lots of things to think about, and so that you're always giving 100%, or, you know, 90% of the time giving 100%, try and work your day to suit yourself, so that if you're really, really, you know, onto it and focused in the morning, then, you know, maybe plan clients in the morning and give yourself a break in the afternoon when you're having a bit of a downtime. The other thing to do, I find really useful, is to always give myself a break between clients. So rather than going back to back, if you have a little bit of a break, then you can have some water to refresh, you can have some food, you can splash water on your face, or, you know, do whatever it is that you need to do. And the other thing I find really useful is when you're if you find that you're in the middle of a session and you kind of, your mind's wandering, an anchoring technique's really good. So I don't know if you've used anchoring techniques before, but it's something that needs a lot of practice before you use it in real life situations. But it's where you just pick a subtle movement, normally, probably not a cartwheel, but where you know, you squeeze a finger and just think, you know, and that's your own cue to yourself to flip back and, you know, to give 100%. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You it's really important you do actually have those techniques to keep you refocused. And yeah, just reset. We're all normal humans, and we sometimes do need something to keep us refocused and back on task.
Yeah, definitely. The next one, I yeah, I think this is a real personal one. Is it's about communication and technology and making them work for you. And I think there's a lot of mistakes that we can make in terms of technology and communication. But if we always keep in mind what works for us and, you know, what we believe, then I think you can't really go too wrong. For me, I always, if someone sends me an email that needs a response, I always respond. And if I can't answer the question straight away, I'll just say, look, thanks for your email. I'll get back to you in, you know, so many days' time. Because I hate when you send an email out and you don't get a response and you wonder actually if it reached its purpose, you know, if it reached its destination. And the other thing I find with communication is making a set rule for yourself. So if if you're going to text clients between appointments, which can be really good to develop rapport, that's really great. But what I won't do personally is text a client to cancel. So if I can't make a session, I'll always pick up the phone. And it's having some of those rules or boundaries, I think, of your own that work for you and your clients. What do you think, Di?
I think it's absolutely critical to have those standards in just even texting to follow up how the client found the session and give them some good positive feedback on what you felt they really did well in the session and remind them of some of the goals of set or tasks of set in between the next session and make it quite open, that text communication. And that just keeps things moving ahead and keep things goals focused.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is really important, which is probably our last point really, Hills. We're on to our very last important point here, which is not last or least, but the golden rule. Deliver on what you promise. You know, it's really important that if we tell a client that we're going to do something, that we do it. And it reflects badly on us in our client outcomes on how you value their goals and them if we don't do that. So it's really important that we do follow through on what we say we're going to do. And that's that integrity thing, which is really important. And you've probably heard the cliche, under promise and over deliver. What do you think of that cliche, Hills?
Yeah, cliche but true. You know, if you can't do something on time like you said you were going to do, just let the client know. You know, things do crop up that we have to work around, and you know, people are generally happier to know that something's coming a few days late than to sit and wait for it and wonder why it's not there. So I don't know, just think about how you want to be treated, or you know, what you would expect if you were paying for a service, and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've covered the main points of today. It's really important that you do give us some feedback on how you have found this. You know, the PT Council really wants to help enhance your business and your success as a personal trainer and your business with clients. Annalee.
Yes, let me just run you through quickly the poll results before I ask the question that one of our attendees has put forth. So just for your interest, are you a PT? We had, of those who answered, we had 50% yes and 50% no.
Okay.
Those with more than two or more years experience, of those who answered, we had 57% yes, they do have, and 43% said no, they do not. Oh, sorry, no, my mistake. More than 2 years experience, 38% said yes, I do, and 63% have less than 2 years experience, so that's good to know. Have you paid for external expertise? 57% said yes, and 43% said no. And the last poll I'm going to launch right now, so people can answer that while we're chatting, is have you made one or more of these common mistakes in your business? So I'll wait for the results for that. In the
I
meantime,
would say I made about most of them.
Yeah, I'd be looking at 9 or 10 of them, I think.
You learn from your mistakes, huh?
You sure do. Each
oh,
life lesson.
look, you know what? We've got 100% said yes.
Woohoo!
So that's great.
Do we have a question?
Yeah, I've got 2 questions here for you.
Good.
First one is, how would you handle professionally turning a client away or referring him or her to another PT if you don't feel like training them due to them having too many injuries?
I think it's hills here. I think if you're referring them on, then you should feel that it's a positive thing. You know, you're doing it to help the client, you're doing it to keep the client safe. And so look at it as a positive thing. Explain to them, look, hey, you know, I'm happy to see you maybe later, but this person's really good at what they do. And, you know, because for me personally, I only refer to people that I know are really great. I think it's just a positive all round for both of you, really.
Absolutely, and I think, like you said, Hilary, it is a positive thing, and it's like doctors referring to other doctors. You know, we do have our specialty areas, so if somebody's got multiple injuries or constantly injured, and you're losing your confidence with working with that person, it's just the right thing to do is to refer them to a rehab specialist, a personal trainer. Awesome.
Great advice, guys. The second question we have was just, could you quickly refresh point 3? I apologise, the poll actually interrupted that one. So could you quickly run over again what point 3 was?
Okay, point 3 is when we take on every client that calls us. And I know I did this when I first started. I took on everyone. But then I found that some people were, you know, I didn't gel with personally, or they had interests or goals that didn't suit my passions. I found some were aggressive or some were non-paying. The non-paying ones I found hard to refer on to anyone because I kind of thought if they were not paying me, they might not be any good to anyone else. But all the rest I was able to refer on to someone who had, you know, more expertise than me, and I was happy to say goodbye, have a great time.
Alrighty, look, thanks guys, and thanks everyone for attending. Especially, of course, thank you to Di and Hilary for being amazing presenters today. Thanks to all our attendees, and of course the PT Council of New Zealand. We've had a good old time, and I will officially end this broadcast now. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks
Thanks everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.